Something disturbing is happening right beneath your nose, not in the news, not in the economy, not in the people around you, right beneath your nose, and almost no one will ever see it, even though it is determining absolutely everything about the life they are living. Let me show you something. Imagine two people, same age, same level of education, they grew up in the same neighborhood, went to the same schools, had similar starting points, but right now, one of them moves through life like the world is on their side. Doors open, opportunities appear, the right people show up at the right time. There's a kind of magnetism around them that's difficult to explain. The other person fights constantly. Every step forward seems to cost twice what it should. They work hard, often harder than anyone around them, and still feel like they're swimming against a current that never lets up. Like there's a ceiling they can feel but cannot see. Same world, completely different realities. Now, here is the question that changes everything. What is the actual difference between them? Not talent, not luck, not connections, not the strategies they use or the opportunities they encounter. The difference is something more subtle and more revolutionary than most people are willing to accept. Those two realities don't exist out there in the world. They exist inside those two people. And each of them created their own reality without ever realizing it, through an invisible mechanism that most people never learn to see. Today, I want to show you that mechanism. I want to show you what it is, how it works, and most importantly, how to change it. Because once you understand this, it becomes impossible to keep living like a victim of your circumstances. Every morning when you wake up, you stand in front of the most important mirror of your life, not the one in your bathroom, not the mirror on your closet door or the front camera on your phone, the mirror of reality. And this mirror has a fascinating peculiarity that no one tells you about. It never lies. It reflects with surgical precision exactly who you believe yourself to be, deep inside, and how you truly see the world around you, not your beautiful words, not your noble intentions, not your goals written in a journal, your deepest convictions about yourself and about life. You've believed since childhood that you live in a certain world, but that's a distortion. You don't live in the external world. You live in your world. An internal world built by the image you project in front of that invisible mirror. And if you look at your life right now and you don't like what you see, if you're not satisfied with what you have, where you are, who keeps showing up, there is only one explanation. The image you're projecting onto your internal mirror is distorted. The mirror reflects. It doesn't judge. It doesn't discriminate between what you want and what you fear. It simply takes the frequency you are emitting, the vibrational signature of who you believe yourself to be, and reflects it back with perfect fidelity. If deep down you see yourself as someone who never gets lucky, the mirror responds, perfect. Here is more evidence that you don't get lucky. If you believe life is a constant struggle, the mirror says, of course. Let me give you more struggle to confirm what you already know. The mirror is the most loyal friend you've ever had. It never contradicts you. It always validates your deepest beliefs and gives you more of what you're already projecting. And that is exactly why it imprisons most people. Let me tell you about a trap I lived in for years. I was doing everything right, or so I thought. When I wasn't satisfied with my financial situation, I worked more hours. When I wanted better relationships, I tried harder to be more interesting, more present, more likable. When I wanted more opportunities, I sent more applications, pitched more clients, knocked on more doors. Nothing changed, or rather, things changed on the surface for a moment and then returned to exactly where they had been. It was like standing in front of a mirror and trying to change what I saw by touching the glass. Pressing my hand against the reflection, rearranging the image with my fingers. That's what 99.9% of people do their entire lives. They identify themselves with the reflection. They believe they are the reflection. So they spend their energy trying to change the consequence while leaving the cause completely untouched. The secret, the one that changes everything, is not changing the reflection. The secret is changing the person standing in front of the mirror, because the mirror doesn't create. It responds. It responds to you. Change who you are, and the mirror has no choice but to show you something different. When you learn to correct the internal root, everything you see on the outside, every reflection, begins to shift. The change is never from the outside in. It is always from the inside out. Now let me show you exactly how the mirror of reality operates, and why so many people stay trapped in the same loop for decades without understanding why. The mirror operates according to one immutable law. It can only reflect the vibrational frequency you emit, and that frequency is composed of two elements. The first is your deep identity, who you actually believe yourself to be at the core, not who you say you are, not who you want to be, who you genuinely believe you are, in the moments no one is watching, when something falls through, when something goes wrong. Who do you become then? That's your real identity signal. The second is your worldview, how you fundamentally perceive reality. Is life something that happens for you or to you? Is the world a place of abundance and possibility, or scarcity and threat? Not philosophically, viscerally, in your gut, in your first emotional reaction when something unexpected happens. These two elements, your deep identity and your worldview, combine to form the frequency you're broadcasting constantly into the mirror of reality. And the mirror faithfully reflects whatever you're sending. This is not metaphor. This is mechanism. I've studied people who manage to transform their reality consistently, not just for a season, but permanently, structurally, and without exception, all of them, consciously or unconsciously, mastered four principles I want to give you today. I'm going to call them the 4 secrets of the mirror masters. A master isn't someone who knows more than everyone else. A master is someone who united knowledge with practice and transformed it into wisdom. Someone who stopped just understanding the theory and actually applied it until their life changed. Any person can become a mirror master, including you, but only if you apply all 4. Secret 1. The art of conscious projection. Most people project an image by accident. Mirror. Masters do it by design. Instead of looking at their current circumstances, their results, their account balance, their relationship status, how their life looks right now, and forming an identity based on that reflected reality, they do the opposite. First, they consciously create the identity of the person they want to become. Then they allow the mirror to gradually reflect that new image. No rush. With strategy. Here is an exercise I want you to do today. Take a piece of paper and answer. One question: who do I need to become to have the life I desire? Not what you want to have, not what you need to do. Who do you need to be? What characteristics does that future version of you possess? How does that person think? How do they respond to challenges? What energy do they radiate into every room they enter? Now write your new identity declaration. One sentence that reflects the person you are choosing to become. Not a hope, a declaration. I am someone who attracts opportunities. Naturally, I am a person who turns obstacles into launch pads. I am someone for whom solutions appear with ease. Make it yours. Make it feel true, not as something you're performing, but as something you're inhabiting. Then, and this is the crucial part, begin living as if this new identity were your present truth, not a future aspiration, your current reality. Act as the person you are becoming. Think as the person you are becoming. When you actually become that person, not pretend to. Be them, but become them at the level of identity. You stop needing to chase anything because you stop feeling the absence. You simply become a magnet for the people, situations, experiences, and opportunities that are energetically aligned with who you are. You focus so completely on being that you almost stop thinking about having, and it is precisely in that paradoxical moment that having explodes. Secret 2. The patience of the gardener. Here is where almost everyone quits. Not because they didn't understand, not because they didn't try, because they didn't wait. There is always a gap between the internal change and its external reflection. The mirror responds, but material reality has density. It cannot reorganize itself as instantly as the mind can create a new image. There is a necessary delay between planting and harvest. Imagine a gardener who plants a seed today. Tomorrow morning, they run outside to check if it's sprouted. On day 3, seeing nothing, they give up and plant something new in its place. That gardener will never see a harvest, not because the seeds were bad, because they never gave them time to become anything. This is where most people live. They make the internal shift. They don't see immediate external confirmation, and they retreat back to the old identity, the old frequency, the old reflection. I tried that. It didn't work. It didn't work because you left before the harvest. The secret is maintaining fidelity to your new identity even when the reflection hasn't fully changed yet. Continuing to be who you chose to be, especially when the external evidence still hasn't caught up. That gap, that space between the internal shift and the external confirmation, that is where transformation happens. That is where the mirror masters separate themselves from everyone else. Most people change back. Masters stay. Secret 3. The power of directed focus. Here is an insight that will permanently change the way you use your mind. The mirror of reality does not reflect the emotion behind your thoughts. It reflects the specific content of them. When you think, "I hate being broke," the mirror doesn't register the hatred. It registers broke and gives you more situations that confirm that scarcity. When you think, "I can't stand this job anymore," the mirror doesn't see your frustration. It sees this job and gives you more of it. When you think, "I need to stop being so anxious," the mirror doesn't hear the desire for calm. It hears anxious and gives you more triggers. The mirror is precise in a way that most people find deeply inconvenient. It does not interpret your wishes. It amplifies your focus, which means that fighting against what you don't want is one of the most effective ways to create more of it. The shift is this: redirect your focus from what you don't want to what you actually want. Instead of, "I'm exhausted by always being broke," try, "I am becoming a magnet for abundance." Instead of, "I hate feeling insecure," try, "I am developing an unshakable confidence." Simple, yes. Easy, no. It requires conscious practice to reprogram decades of automatic focus on what's wrong, what's missing, what's threatening. But the compounding effect of this shift is extraordinary, because every thought you deliberately redirect is a vote for the reality you want. And the mirror counts every single one. Secret 4. Breaking the reverse creation cycle. This is the most transformative secret of all, and also the one most people never hear. Most people live inside a loop, a perfectly self-sustaining loop that keeps everything exactly as it is, no matter how much effort they apply. Here is how it works. They observe their current reality. They form an identity based on what they observe. They project that identity onto the mirror, and the mirror reflects back confirmation of exactly what they observed in the first place. The loop closes. Same reflection, same identity, same reflection. It's a feedback system with no exit, because every time you look at your current circumstances to understand who you are, you simply deepen the existing frequency. Mirror masters do the opposite. They stop consulting the current reflection to form their identity. Instead, they consciously choose the image they want to project, regardless of what the mirror currently shows. They project that image consistently, second by second, day by day, year by year, refusing to Take the old reflection as evidence about who they are. They notice and celebrate every small sign that the new reality is emerging, because confirmation amplifies frequency. And they ignore the evidence that contradicts the new identity, not through denial, but through focus. In other words, they stop looking at today's reflection and start creating tomorrow's. When you begin applying this, something shifts. Small synchronicities appear. The right people show up at unexpected moments. Opportunities that used to be invisible become suddenly obvious. It isn't luck. It isn't coincidence. It is the mirror of reality reflecting your new frequency back to you. One last thing before I leave you with the question that matters most. There is a moment in every person's life when they have to make a choice. A real choice. Not a preference or a wish. A choice. Continue being a victim of circumstances or become the architect of their own reality. If you've stayed with me until here, that moment has arrived for you. Not in the future. Now. Because you now understand something most people never will. You understand that the problem was never outside. It was never the economy or the timing or the people who didn't support you. The problem was the image you were projecting, and you were projecting it by accident with no awareness, responding to a pattern set in motion decades ago. But now you know the mechanism, which means you have no more excuses. And I mean that as the most empowering thing I could possibly say to you. No more excuses means you have all the power. The mirror is in front of you. It's waiting with infinite patience for you to decide who stands before it. What image do you choose to project from this moment forward? Because if you don't change the image you're projecting, the reality will never change. But if you change, truly change, at the level of identity, focus, and pattern, the entire universe of possibility opens in front of you. Leave me a comment. Tell me, which of the 4 secrets hits you hardest? I read every single one. And sometimes writing the answer is the beginning of living it.